to the Breakthrough Blueprint, where we talk to entrepreneurs about how they got started and how they became successful today. And today I have with me my amazing friend Elijah, and I'll hand it over to him to introduce himself.
Uh, Appreciate you, Mel. It's good to be here, and thank you for having me. Um, yeah, I guess the best way I can introduce myself is I have been doing. It's funny because I think in North America or in the Western worlds,
Hmm.
we all lead with our job titles and what we do. But basically, I have been in like sales, marketing, outbound for the past. I think it's been 5 years now. However long it's been since like 2021. Um, and I got my start doing door to door. As I was mentioning before we hit record, I am in Toronto, so you can imagine how door to door goes during this time of year in the winter. It was pretty painful, but it was a really good experience. It's one of those
Hmm.
cliches where you only appreciate it after you've done it.
Yep.
So I did that. I actually got introduced to my old boss there, introduced me and got me into like the high ticket, remote closing kind of world. So I did that part time because it was a little up and down and kind of stuff like. And but then I was doing recruiting for about 2 years. As I was doing that on the side. And then after, I got into the recruiting world, this would have been around 2023 summer or like springtime. I found out about like tech sales and that whole world. And then I ended up doing that from like June, I think, of 23. And then I recently left June of 25. Good 2 years. It was a lot of fun. Went from an SDR to a senior SDR, team lead, and then manager. And then I saw all of the boomers in the director and VP role, and their lives looked miserable. And I said, I think I'm going to skip out on that. So I just went down the entrepreneurship route. So that's at a high level, kind of like my
Hmm.
background and what got me here. There's all this stuff too, which we'll get into, but you know.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have similar backgrounds. I also started in door to door solar and did the
Oh,
whole
okay.
tech sales SGR thing, but same, basically the same thing as you. But
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit more about your current business?
Yeah, so basically, it's transformed a couple of times, which is obviously what's always happening in business, right? You make good pivots and stuff like that. I initially just started selling the best thing I knew how to do, which was doing cold calling for businesses. Was there still is so much demand for that, and then eventually I started getting into more, you know, RevOps slash, doing like clay operation kind of work. And for those
Hmm.
who don't know what clay is, I hate that example of like, oh, think of it like a steroid or like a spreadsheet on steroids, but think of it this way: you buy Zoom Info, Apollo, Seamless, all these different tools that cost a bunch of money. But when you're trying to sell to a specific type of construction company that only does home remodeling, let's say, as an example,
Hmm.
you cannot filter for that in Zoom Info, right? Because the generic industry tag is construction, right? And maybe
Hmm.
some headcount and revenue bands. So with Clay, what I can do is I can target home remodeling companies that only focus on, I don't know, focusing on a specific region and they sell a specific price point because I can use an AI agent to go on their website to see what the numbers are and what they
Hmm.
charge. And then I can find the owners. I can scan their LinkedIn profile. I can do so many things just in one place. This quickly though is getting replaced with Cloud Code, at least for myself, because Cloud Code is it's been pretty. I'm not usually one to join things late, but I did kind of jump on the cloud wave a little bit later than some of my peers, my buddies. So yeah, basically I use Cloud Code and Clay to find the best fit accounts for a company, and then I go find those individuals, get their phone numbers. I use a tool called TitanX, which is what lets me get 20-30% connect rates over the phone. Typically, you can have a 2 to maybe a 6% connect rate over the phone if you're lucky, and then I just go make cold calls, book appointments, and that usually brings them the revenue in the door. So that's at a high level kind of what I do, and then obviously all the RevOps, CRM,
Hmm.
marketing background as well. It's kind of what I do. So that at a high level is what the business
Interesting.
is.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So you're selling qualified appointments or
So there's three things I usually sell. So if you're
Mhm.
I actually got off a call literally today with a business owner. He actually bought this business from the previous owner, and he was like a PE guy, and he like most PE people, they think they have a thesis on how they can improve the business, and sales was a big part of that. And they are traditionally a very inbound referral based business, and he wants to go outbound. And so someone like him, I would only charge him based on trying to figure out and testing your marketing or your messaging because we haven't figured it out. If a company's figured it out and they just need like a body, then I just do like a performance base and I'll just like do
Mhm.
qualified leads or something like that. So, and then the third model is basically when it's kind of like a hybrid of both. So yeah, but usually I tend to stay away from trying to guarantee any quota or leads, I should
Mhm.
say, because
Mhm.
no one can obviously guarantee that. So that's kind of
Got
how
you.
how that works.
Mhm. And how are you generating leads for your business?
So initially it was because I'm coming up on a year, which will be I want to say March. So I'm like 10 months into this now. It's been a lot of fun. And the first, like, I want to say 2 to 3 months, it was just pure cold calling, obviously, right? You got to do the job, get the job kind of thing. So I just did that. And then ever since then, it's really been, I think, three sources. It's been referrals, channel sales, and LinkedIn inbound from content. I
Mm.
haven't had to do that much outbound, thankfully, because as much as I do it, it's still obviously hard. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the three sources I get leads from today.
Gotcha. And so for LinkedIn, like what kind of content do you put out? What's your consistency on there?
I would say probably over the past month, I've been really consistent. Like, 'cause I've had like a couple folks ask me, they're like, what's your routine or what's this? So I was like, I don't know. I just schedule it. I am
Mhm.
pretty, well, one of the, and you can probably attest to this, right? One of the things, as an SDR, the best thing I probably learned was just time management and organizational skills. I have like a whole Notion dashboard on like, okay, this is the posts I'm going to make, this week, and this is going to be the
Mhm.
topic, and then the category, yada yada.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I basically try to do like once a day, maybe like 3 to 4 times a week at like the
Mhm.
minimum. And the types of posts I make is the buckets fall under tactical cold calling where I'm like demonstrating my skills.
Mm.
Another thing would also fall under like doing something more technical, like on the, I haven't done that much like N8 and stuff. I still do it. I just don't post it. I'll maybe post those kind of how to videos. Sometimes I'll just post, because there's definitely some truth to say around like posting something more personable or like something that's not like business related. So people feel, it's kind of weird when I speak with some people and they follow me for a couple months and they're like, oh man, I've been following you for so long. I was like, that's a little weird. Not weird in that sense, but it's funny being in that position where someone's like, man, I've been following you for so long. And I'm appreciative, obviously, of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it's basically tactical things, technical things, thought leadership around like for example, a couple weeks ago, I made a post on like why you should never use a parallel dialer. There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't use it, and I end up getting a couple of business from that because people are like, "Oh, I'm going to use Nooks or Orem or things that you and I know."
Mhm.
I don't know
Mhm.
what tools your audience uses, but so those are the kind of buckets I fall under when it comes to content. And it's really just being consistent. I can definitely tell you. I noticed, and I don't know if you've experienced this. I noticed around the 6 month mark. That's when like it went from, and I'm referring to like getting referrals, getting inbound.
Mhm.
It went from kind of like a little like here and there, and then just skyrocketed. Like the since I came to the new year, I think I've had
Mhm.
maybe 5 or 8 calls either that are taking place or will take place. I don't think any of them I had to outbound. Like they're all just
Mhm.
referrals, channel
Mhm.
sales, maybe closed lost opportunities from 6 months ago. So that's one of the added benefits I think if you're in business long enough is you stay around long enough, right? That person who said no 3 months ago, they're gonna come around because maybe it's a better time, right? So
Definitely,
yeah,
especially, after the holidays, everyone's getting,
yeah, exactly.
on their sprints and working on their New Year's resolutions in their business and personal life. So I feel like everyone's motivated, which is awesome because I'm
Yeah,
motivated. So
yeah, yeah.
but
Like that's
LinkedIn is
huge.
such a yeah, it's such a funny platform because I remember like, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, I was annoyed when I was like applying to jobs because I'm like, why do I have to have this social media platform when I could
Mm,
literally just send you my resume, right? Because you want to see how many followers and connections I have and like the little referrals and like, yes, I get all of those sections, but like now I understand that like so many people for like my clients too, like if your prospects are on LinkedIn, then it's a gold mine. You just need to get in front of them and so I've
yeah,
tried it all. I've tried the lead magnets and those were great in terms of getting tons of eyeballs on my page, going viral a few times. But at the end of the day, a lot of those people just want the free guide. And most of them aren't ever going to buy, even if it's, some people take time, like you said, they might just be watching you and getting to know
yeah,
you from your posts. That's why I think consistency and personal branding and content is so important. But a lot of people will never buy from you. And unfortunately, the way the LinkedIn inbox is set up, it's kind of hard to like organize messages and all of that. So I stopped doing the lead magnets, but yeah, I appreciate your approach in building your personal brand.
yeah. I definitely wish I was or not wish, 'cause obviously I can just do it. I'm gonna be hiring a guy to do my LinkedIn for like the messaging, the outbound DMs and stuff like that. Because I mean, knock on wood, right? It's a good problem to have, but it's just like you get so busy because the two services I provide. One is pretty like labor intensive, right? Like you got to like sit down and make the calls. The other is more like asynchronous work where maybe I'm building them a system or something, and I have
Mhm.
to. I'm not meeting with them, so I can do it during off hours. But
Yeah.
I mean, and I literally just hired my first VA, and I just hired my first cold caller for my agency because I'm like
Mhm.
I just don't have the time, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's one big thing, and I don't know what your experience has been with this, but the whole concept of like leverage, obviously everyone talks about it, but like I'm really starting to like learn that now because I'm getting there's a lot of technical guys I know who a lot of them obviously suck at sales and they can't sell to save their lives, which is perfect for me because I'm the complete opposite. Well, I wouldn't say opposite because I do get business, but I'm constrained because of my time. So I usually would just kind of cut a deal with them. I'm like, hey, like let's just split this thing 60/40, 70/30, whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, the work they do, because that's all they want to do. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And one other thing too, there's a guy I'm working with, and we should definitely talk about this after too, by the way. I forgot to
Mhm.
tell you.
Mhm.
He was a client, and then now I'm actually franchising his model. He's a business
Mm.
broker. And that world is, I think that's the next frontier of where I want to go, because this guy is, I hope he doesn't watch this. He is pretty dumb. And like, I'm talking, he can't use a spreadsheet. He can barely use email. And I'm like, and he's doing 2 million a year take home for himself. Right. It's a really lean business. And all he's doing is just like brokering deals, like nothing crazy. And that's always where I wanted to go, by the way. So the reason I got into tech sales, one of the main reasons was I've tried to start a couple of businesses before, as all the usual stuff, SSMA, credit repair, drop shipping, etc. But I think the big thing I realized was I didn't have, anyone can start a business, but it's so much different when you've been in the industry, let's say as an example, and like you know
Mhm.
the little things, you know the bottlenecks, you know where there's room for improvement, and then you go do something, right?
Mhm.
One of the biggest benefits. And that guy I told you who I met with today, the one who bought the business, I got that guy as a referral because I worked with the guy 3 years ago when I was at Brex. And I definitely worked with this guy, but we weren't like close to anything. And then I remember out of the blue, he messages me, or excuse me, the prospect messages me saying, hey, name this person, sent me to you and said he's like, you're one of the best SDRs he's worked with. And you're really sharp on this and that and that. And I was like, damn, like, thank you. You know what I mean? And then today he hopped on a call and he was like, hey, I'm looking to hire someone in house, but I want to take this call because the guy spoke so highly of you. And I came, like as I naturally do, I came really prepared with like a 90-day plan. 'Cause that's what I do with every client. And he was like, okay, like this wasn't a waste of my time. And like, let's figure out something we can do. And I tell you that because had I not had the experience of like how to really come prepared on a sales call, how to do so much deep research
Mhm.
and all these things, right? And also just
Yeah.
like little things of, you use Salesforce, you use HubSpot, you use these, it helps so much. So anyone who's watching this, especially if you're like on the younger side, ideally you don't have to have industry experience per se, but gain some kind of like corporate experience because it helps so much. And if nothing else, at least just the fact that for me, I've had manager on my title, and like I know a bunch of VPs, like they're not worth shit, right? For the most part. But just because they have that title, they okay, he's been a VP and
Mhm.
he must know what he's talking about, even though majority of them don't know anything, right? So there's a couple of funny companies out there but yeah, let me land the plane on this. But the point I was trying to make was essentially the reason I got into tech sales specifically was
Mhm.
one, because it was booming, but also two, I wanted to be able to build my capital, build my connections, also have some like managerial experience as well. That's why I went down the
Mhm.
manager path as opposed to the
Mhm.
AE route, because
Mhm.
as you and I know from the high ticket world, you already have done closing, so I already had that covered. So when I put all these things together, I mean, like at the time I left was the perfect time for me, at least, because like
Mhm.
the company I was at, Docebo, they were falling apart, stock was collapsing, and like leadership was leaving. And I said, okay, this is a great sign. And then that's when I was, working with our fellow friends who basically doing some closing for them. That was helpful, and I was doing my part time thing, and it just made
Mhm.
perfect. Like it was a great opportunity. The other
Mhm.
last thing is every single client I work with, like it's crazy how much I could learn from them, and everybody's in their own
Mhm.
bubble too. By the way, in the
Yeah.
sense that there was this one guy. I'm actually looking to buy his business. He's like 65. He owns this really interesting. It's like a packaging slash like barcoding business, and it's very cash flow positive. He's 65, loves his employees, doesn't want to sell to PE, and he doesn't know anything about government contracting or how outbound works. And I was just educating him on this stuff, and he's like, "Okay, this is interesting." And we're just building a relationship. So I'm like, even if I don't close them, I had that
Mhm.
connection there, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, there's just so much opportunity if you know where to look and you have that outlook in life, you know?
Yeah,
So
for
I'll shut up
sure.
now.
Yeah, I mean, no, we definitely need to talk after this because I'm realizing there's so much that we have in common and we can
Yeah.
potentially work together. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, if you don't have, first of all, the work ethic and the discipline, but like that
Mhm.
corporate experience or places, whether it's a high ticket company or a corporate company,
Right.
but if they have good leadership systems, teach you, how to manage your time or how to like manage your tasks. Like that's
Yeah.
super important because like, a lot of people don't have that foundation. And when they get to a high pressure job where you're expected to do a lot of admin and keep up with a lot of tasks, like they're just not going to be able to survive.
Yeah. There's a whole ton of that. And it's interesting too because it's like I've met quite a lot, especially over the past, 10 months now doing this, quite a lot of guys who are in the same space. They run an agency, whether it's cold email, cold calling, play, or AI agencies as well, like the automation. A
Mhm.
lot of them have the usual problems, right? It's like, oh, I can't get enough appointments, or I can't close, or I can't fulfill. And there's a lot of things I learned from like a project management point of view because I'm starting to realize more and more and more the best type of entrepreneurs or like operators, they have no industry experience for the most part, right?
Mhm.
And I talk a lot about the M&A world, mergers, acquisitions, and buying, small businesses, baby boomer businesses, et cetera.
Yeah.
Because it's really interesting how I was talking to a guy. He's out of Boston. I think he bought like three businesses in the healthcare space.
Mhm.
He's doing about, I don't know, 5 million rev, about 1.5 in EBITDA. He's like late 20s. He has no industry experience. He literally just surrounded himself with like a board. And for those that don't know the model, right? The usual model is you go out there, your job as like the business development president or whatever is to get deals and get capital, right?
Mhm.
You find someone, two, three people who are industry experts, and you let them do their thing. And I remember thinking to you before, Matt, when I, for example, was trying to hire for a couple of projects, I used to think, these guys who are really, really technical, like way more than me, like, why do they want to work with me? Like,
Mhm.
why would, because I know for me, I never want to work with someone who I don't like look up to them in some aspect. I'm like, why would I want to partner with this person? Right. Or if
Mhm.
there's no
Mhm.
equal exchange of value, I know I would never want to, but it's so funny when you find something that somebody wants to do and you also find out what they don't want to do, you take that off their plate. I mean,
Mhm.
because most people obviously don't want to be entrepreneurs and stuff, which is totally fine, right?
Yeah.
But that was just like a huge thing. I just have started seeing more and more as time's kind of gone on. Is
Mhm.
if you can lead, do project management, uh,
Mhm.
I mean, there's just so much you can do, right? And on top of that, if
Yeah.
you can sell, you can generate leads, you can generate business, do business development. There's no shortage of people who just want to crunch numbers or code or do whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just like a pretty big breakthrough I've had over the past 10 or so months and on
Mhm.
that topic. And I'm definitely gonna make a
Mhm.
video too. I gotta start my YouTube channel. I have my
Mhm.
first video dropping this week actually. I have I'm gonna make a video on like the 12 things I learned over the past 12 months once I get to the 12-month mark. Because I've been like noting that down when I do like my little voice memo journals kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting.
That's awesome. Love that. I'll definitely have to watch that. But so what's next for you? Like I know you've mentioned buying businesses. Like what other
Mhm.
types of investments are you involved in?
So I was dabbling with crypto. I definitely realized I'm not the I don't think I have the emotional temperament, to do any sorts of investments. I like the safe, stable, might maybe buy a couple treasuries or something or bonds.
Mhm.
Because I'd rather much just go out there and make 20, 30K in a month than try to get like 5% or like 12% returns in a year, right? And until I get like a certain amount of capital, then it doesn't make sense for it to just like sit around. But like the
Mhm.
next big thing is like I mentioned with the business brokerage. I mean, it's not really a business broker, right? Because you got to be licensed, and I'm not gonna do all that stuff. It's more of like it's like wholesaling real estate, but with businesses,
Mhm.
taking a piece of that. And it's interesting too because like every business owner I've only been doing it by the way for maybe about a week, and I booked like about like 4 meetings. And I have a couple other ones I'm trying to get on the board.
Mhm.
And I spoke to one guy this morning. He's out of California, and he runs like this calisthenics therapist e-com store. It's pretty interesting, and he's not profitable, but there's a lot of opportunities for him to like improve these. Because that's the other thing with these small businesses. There was these two ladies I was talking to on Thursday or Friday. They're profitable. They've been running it for like 10 years, and they're just old and they just want to sell. And I was asking them some automation questions, right? Like, hey, like how are you processing orders right now? They're like, oh, like we literally would just go on a spreadsheet, like map all
Mhm.
those things. And I'm like, damn, like there's so much room for improvement. Like I almost want to buy
Mhm.
it. This is for a client that we're trying to set them up. But I think that's the other benefit is you get to interact with so many business owners, right? That eventually you're gonna find one. You also build relationships. Cause like I said, these people live in a box, like they don't talk to anybody, right? So you're the only thing
Mhm.
they know. And they're like, wow, like I mean you can spell and you can use AI. Like I'll sell you the business, right? And these things are profitable. I'm talking they're spitting out two, 300, 400,000 a year. After
Mm.
all, like that's net free cash flow.
Hmm.
And they're like, oh, maybe I don't know, give it to my son or give it to my nephew, my daughter, whoever. I'm like, yeah, there's just so much opportunity, you know? But I definitely
Mhm.
want to get, like, the plan is to close a couple deals, have that as like my cash flow. And here's another funny thing. The guy I spoke to today, the guy who bought the business, right? This is the one I got referred to from that guy I used to work with. So he was a PE guy, and I just kind of subtly brought this up to him. And this is another thing on this topic is when you just bring things up, just and just talking. But you never know where the conversation will go. Because I spoke to this guy
Mhm.
today thinking I'm just gonna pitch him on my service, I'll make some calls for him, yada yada, right? And I ended up telling him because he had the PE background. I thought it was relevant to bring it up. I said, yeah, like frankly, my long term plan is to in like 2 3 years as I said a little bit longer just so he doesn't. He's like, oh, you can only do this for 6 months and get out of here. I basically told him my plan is to acquire some kind of business like how you did, Mister. And he's like, oh, interesting. He's like, I can tell you this. I'm always looking for deals. Also, I have the capital, I have the network, and I was like, okay. And I was like, but I only have a sales and marketing background. Like, I'm not an operator. He's like, dude, let me tell you. And this is where I got the additional confidence, right? He was like, look, especially in small business world, and small business to him is like anything under 50 million. I consider it a little bit like lower, probably like 10 million. He's like, if you can do sales and marketing, that's all you really need at that level
Mhm.
because there's
Mhm.
so many levels, like levers you can pull just to like get exponential returns, right? Obviously, once you're
Mhm.
past a certain stage, then it's more like cost savings and cutting waste and that kind of boring stuff, right?
Mhm.
But like, he's like, yeah, dude, like, if you ask me right now for an investment, like, I'll definitely invest in you if the deal made sense, right? Like, I got guys and da da da. And I was like, damn, like, you just never know kind of things. And I was talking with a good friend of mine. He also runs the same business as me, like the fractional cold calling model.
Mhm.
Him and I, we've been talking about it for a while because he's very interested
Mhm.
in, as well in it. And that's the other thing I mentioned to you with capital. I have so many
Mhm.
guys. If I went to them, I have a good deal, like it's profitable, it makes sense. I have a business plan and whatnot. These guys make a couple 100,000 a year. They got a couple 100,000 in savings. They're like, yeah, like I wouldn't mind putting in 50, 60, whatever, 80, right? I would have never done that if I stayed in the high ticket world 'cause all those guys are broke, right? But like I wouldn't have never been able to like do that. So
Mhm.
I think that's gonna be like the next thing that I'm gonna be focusing on a lot is still running the calling piece, like the agency. And what I'm gonna do with that now, with this guy I just mentioned to you, the one that we've been looking to partner for a while. We
Mhm.
are basically want to get it's kind of like when you run an offer or like you used to be a
Mhm.
closer, now you become a sales manager. I know some guys who they went from being closer to like a fractional sales manager, right? So they can
Mhm.
scale their time and
Yeah.
leverage. I think that's the angle I'm gonna take now. Instead of closing though, it's like instead of making the calls, I'm gonna be the one managing the callers, paying them, like their normal rate. And then obviously I take
Mhm.
the majority share. And then they just like, report to me. Like that's
Mhm.
basically the level I'm going to go to. So yeah, that's basically, like what's going to be like next for me.
Love that. Wow. Looks like you got you're really busy. I love to hear that.
I mean, I would definitely be busy.
Well, I guess then to wrap things up here, do you have any advice for people that want to be entrepreneurs or want to get into what you're doing?
I mean, the biggest thing outside of what I mentioned with, get some kind of relevant experience. Again, doesn't have to be in the industry per se, right? But like
Mhm.
it can be a more so field, like sales and marketing for the most part, plus or minus, you can apply that to anywhere. I would also recommend for me, I'm like I told you, I don't have the temperament to invest, and that's because I like to control like my income, so I don't want to have to leave it to something else. So for me, before I made the
Mhm.
jump, I was extreme. I saved up 3 years worth of savings because I
Mhm.
wanted the ability to like walk away from deals that weren't profitable or that didn't make sense. I wanted to be able to think rationally and logically as opposed to like, oh man, I only got X amounts of runway left.
Mhm.
So make sure you have good savings. Make sure to this is a mistake I made honestly in the beginning is make sure to talk about it and announce it because I still now by the way haven't announced that like I'm formally in business. Obviously people could put two and two together by looking at my profile, and candidly that was just because I thought like initially this wasn't going to work. I was like, oh man, like like after 3 months maybe not might work, I gotta go get a job. Obviously I'm long from that, but that's another big thing is like make sure you tell the world because like I can't buy your service if I don't know what you do. um
Mhm.
those are the things I would say, I guess. Oh, and also try to find if you're gonna do anything, whether it's with a partner, a channel sales partner, meaning someone who does like I work a lot with cold email agencies because it makes
Mhm.
sense, right? When they get someone to reply, they need someone to call, and vice versa. Try to find someone like that. If you can find someone who's good at operations and you're good at marketing, great, or vice versa. That's a huge thing because you can go so much further together as opposed to alone, right? It's a old cliche saying, but it's true.
Definitely. Love that. I mean, and you and I will definitely talk about how we can work together after this, but I appreciate
Absolutely.
you coming on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, thank you. Bye
For
now.
everyone else, tune into the next episode of the Breakthrough Blueprint.